if I had 10 assistants, what would I offload to them? The number one way you move from just dabbling with AI is you go from chat to agentic AI.
Yeah. So starting with the processes that you already have, I think is so important because it gives you really quick wins with agentic AI really quickly, because you can go, here's my steps, which ones can you do for me?
Right.
And it might say, well, I can do all of them. You just tell me when. Welcome back to the RedX channel, where we try to uncomplicate your lead generation. Curtis, you and I sat in the studio last week, and there was some stuff that we were talking about that we decided we have to come back in and keep going. And this is something that I know you're super passionate about. I'm super passionate about it, and it's a big topic of every real estate influencer's socials right now. It's a big topic in training programs, and that's AI in real estate. That's so right. Let's talk about AI in real estate, and let's assume, for the sake of the conversation that we're having, that everybody's using AI to some extent.
Right.
It's not common that I come across somebody that's like, ChatGPT, what's that?
Right.
So let's assume that people are using chat features and utilizing that. And the next step is, how do they go from replacing Google with ChatGPT to replacing ChatGPT with things that give their time back and help them be more efficient? So where would you let's start right there.
Yeah, I would start with a warning. Actually, is that AI is incredible, and in fact, I wrote an article in Inman about this recently, that I'm seeing AI cause a lot of the same problems that social media did when it first started going, right?
Okay.
Because is that it can, if people aren't focused in the right areas, it gives the illusion that they're being productive without actually doing anything.
Right.
And a lot of social media was that. And so it's like, well, I'm in there, and they're mostly just doom scrolling, and they're making a few comments, but they have no strategy, they have no focus, they have no direction. And then they go, why am I not getting business when I'm so busy? Well, you're spending hours on social media without any strategy.
Yeah.
And we still see that, but I think, for the most part, we've crossed the chasm on social media, and people are figuring out how to have better strategies and do that. AI is the same way right now. People are like, I have to. There's this frantic urgency that people are like, I have to use AI. And I would say yes, and you're okay. We're still in a relationship business. We're still in a business where you want to be belly to belly, face to face, and people want to trust humans to help them along this path, this transactional path. So the warning is you can learn to do a lot and never accomplish anything if you're not careful. So that's the warning.
Yeah, let me jump in there. I saw a good friend who's in real estate, and saw a post that he did recently, and it said something like, I've been late to this AI thing, but yesterday spent 6 hours building all these automations and stuff like that, and I was genuinely excited for this person because I'm super bullish on AI. But the danger is when you spend time building and perfecting without pushing things out that actually start moving the needle. Like you said, it gives the illusion that you're being productive when in reality you didn't actually do anything that affects the end results that we're looking for. And so I think that's really, really important. And people know themselves pretty well. They know where they get distracted generally, if we're being real honest with ourselves. And I think that people like that have to create some guidelines that say, look, I'm gonna accomplish this. I'm gonna get to this point, and then I'm gonna shut it down and go back to the things that move the needle.
Yeah. And the way that I would suggest, if people want to get started right now, the first thing you do is you start at a whiteboard or a piece of paper, not in the AI. And the reason you do that is you have to kind of document. Most of the time, agents don't really know everything that they do. In business, we call it an SOP or a process, but those are just words for how we get things done, how we do things.
Right.
And in real estate, there's a lot of real estate agents that have no idea how they do it all because it's all in their head. And so the step one is to spend the time at a whiteboard to write out all of the small things that you do on a regular basis. And I would start by just documenting everything that you did that day. So at the end of the day, go, what is everything I did today? And then you can start to look at the things and say, what are the same things I do every single day over and over and over and over again, right? And you'll start to build a map of everything that you do. And some things you do when you have an active listing. Some things you do when you have an offer in, right? So that all of those processes, but some things just happen every single day. Here's a real simple one. Every real estate agent, every single day of their life, checks their email 1 million times a day.
Right.
And so that's one thing that you could put up there. And once you start with the list, then you pick the most common things that take a lot of your time. And you go, okay, well, if I'm doing this every day, actually for example purpose, I'll say log into the MLS. Right.
Okay.
So you log into the MLS because you're pulling data, you're pulling something to look at the new listings that came on the market or whatever. Maybe this is every Monday you go in and say, what is everything that came in over the weekend? And I'm going to look at it. Well, that process, you might not think it takes a lot of time, but how much time does it take you? And that's a process that you could go, could someone do that for me? So step one is write out all the process SOPs. Step two is don't even think about AI first. Think of if I had 10 assistants or 10 VAs, what would I offload to them? And I would start writing down what would you offload to them, because those are the things that already you're like, oh, I just want them to do this. Don't think of anything new yet. That's what the problem is everybody starts thinking of something. Well, if I had AI do everything, I would have them do this because I've never got to that. Well, if you're not doing it now, then don't distract yourself with trying to do it yet. We want to create optimization. We want to create space for time, for innovation. And we want to do that in a really good way first so that you then you can build on a great foundation. So step one, SOPs. Step two, you're going to go, well, if I had humans, which one of these would I offload? And then step three is, great, grab one and go, how would you train a VA to do it? What are all the steps involved in doing that? And then that's when I would go to AI. And I think something we missed in the conversation big time is the number one way you move from just dabbling with AI is you go from chat to agentic AI.
Yeah.
And so whether that's ChatGPT agent mode, or whether that's Claude desktop and you use Cowork or Codex or Manus, or there's a bunch of tools out there that people can try, but all of them are agentic AI that connect into your software tools that you're already using, and then can do action. You can train them to do things in those different softwares.
Yeah, you're sprechen my language here, because I talk a lot about systems, and you referenced SOPs, and it's the same thing. I go, you've got to have a documented series of steps that you follow for everything in your business. One of the things that I use as an example all the time is I'll ask an agent, I'll go, do you have a documented being the key, series of steps that you follow when you get a referral? And 9 out of 10 agents are like, no, I just know what I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, what about when you set a listing appointment? Do you have a documented series of steps? So starting with the processes that you already have, I think is so important, because it gives you really quick wins with agentic AI really quickly, because you can go, here's my steps. Which ones can you do for me?
Right.
And it might say, well, I can do all of them. You just tell me when.
I think you just gave the key, though, that people, if they're feeling overwhelmed, like I don't even know where to start, here's the big secret. Nobody did. like none of us knew what to do in the beginning. We just asked AI what to do. That's the big secret, is once you have these processes, you can give that, you can upload your documented process, and you can just ask the agentic AI, could you do this? And then you could literally just type in there, I don't know what to do to set this up. Walk me through it. We'll say, well, if I'm going to do this, I need access to your email. Are you okay if I have access to your email? And you could set that up. It was okay if I need that. I need access to your web browser because I need to log into your MLS for you. Are you okay if I do that? And you go, yeah. And you start to set up these things, and it will start to tell you what it can do and tell you what it can't do.
Yeah, I've told people many times, I'm like, this is the first time in the history of our species as human beings where we have a resource, a tool available to us, and the tool itself can tell us how to use it.
Yeah.
We don't have to go somewhere else to learn. The tool itself can tell you how to optimize and how to use it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's key. I think that coming with the steps that you'd like to automate, even though you don't know what that looks like yet, I think that's crucial to be able to do that. But how then do you go from these one-off tasks to fully automated systems? Because I know that you have some of the most complex AI automation of anybody that I know. So how does somebody get to that type of thinking where they go, okay, it's not just this task and this task and this task that are automated. It's all of these things strung together that give me the end output that ultimately is the measurement of saved time and money.
Great question. Once your AI understands a bunch of the SOPs and processes and steps that you go through to do your business, then you need to treat the AI as you would a very intelligent employee. And so instead of micromanaging the tasks that it does, you step above that and you give it the outcomes that you're looking for. And so as soon as you get in there and you tell an agentic AI your wish list, one of the very first things I did, a long time ago was I just don't want to deal with my email inbox the way that I always have to. We get in this habit. We have two screens, and one is where you're doing work, and one is this constant distraction of your email inbox that you're being distracted with every single thing that comes in. The problem is how much junk mail do you get in your email? How much of it is not relevant, but it's wasting your time and it's distracting you all day long? So instead of you thinking through everything, the next level of this is saying, I really don't want to get distracted with my email. Therefore, the outcome is I want you to just tell me what's really important for me to pay attention to. And I want to do that at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock every day. And then a very common prompt I use still is ask me between 5 and 10 questions to clarify. And then it will ask you a question. Well, do you want it this way? And do you want it this way? And, how do you want the report to come to you? And how do you want me to notify you? And it will ask you all the questions to set it up. But you got to get above the day-to-day, the micromanaging of the AI, and move up into treat it like a very intelligent employee and start telling it outcomes. And the only time you get in on micromanage on what it's doing is when it gets stuck on building something that will give you an outcome. Okay, so all of this is really great theory, high level. Let's give people some exact step, like something they could go do right now. So if an agent is coming into Listing Academy and they're saying, Tyler, I need help, I need more time, I need to utilize AI, what is the one thing that you would tell them to do right now?
So that's a really great question. I've got a 6-week training that we just wrapped up recently that was how to train your AI agent. And we started at the beginning and we looked at all the steps to go through to train your AI. And this is important because too often we think of AI as a tool that goes alongside our CRM, RedX, our dialer, all our marketing tools. And we think it's just another tool that goes in there. The moment that people start thinking about their AI as a member of their staff, a member of their team, it changes not only how they use it, but it changes the output that they get from it. So people have to remember that you're training your AI like you would train a real employee. And so when you first start using an agentic AI model, and it doesn't matter, you mentioned a few, there's Claude Desktop and Cowork, there's Manus, there's Perplexity Computer, Codex at ChatGPT, and I'm sure Gemini's got their version of it. All of these big models have these agentic AI platforms. Yep. And the thing is when you start to treat it like an employee, you have to remember that you train it like an employee. So the first thing that you do when you hire new staff is you give them context. You're like, hey, here's the business. Here's here's your job description. Here's what you're doing for me. Now, the benefit of hiring real staff over an AI employee is they already have some context coming into the job. Right? They had a job interview, they read a job description, they had interviews and had conversation. So when they come in, they already have some idea. They might even have previous experience doing that. And your AI model as a blank slate has the average collective knowledge of the internet, which is like not specific enough. So it starts by telling it what its role is and its job and the output that you're getting from it. And you'd mentioned that. And then the next thing is, well, now I need to give you access to the tools that you're going to use for me. And you mentioned this also, connecting it to your mail, connecting it to your Canva, to your, I know there's even some MLSs now that have MCPs that you can plug into. You've got to give it access. And we're not going to get deep in this, but plugging in a connector or an MCP or an integration, right? Those are all kind of synonymous terms.
If you don't know what that is, it doesn't matter. Just ask the AI what you need to do to get it connected.
Right. But once you get those connected, there's also permission level access that you need to give it. So there's some things that you can say, don't ever do this with, like, don't ever send mail from my inbox, or draft it and wait for my approval, or I can give it full access, right? So there's permissions and things that you do just like you would do with a brand new employee. And then from there, you start to feed it these SOPs and systems, and you go, hey, let's do this. You're gonna take over this task for me. I always, when I'm setting up something new, I always go through the process and I do a dry run. I'll tell it, okay, I want to do a test. I want to do a dry run, go through and do everything. Give me the output. Tell me where it's going to go. Is it a report or an email or a document or a file or whatever? And where are you going to give it to me? And then you have to go back with a feedback loop. And this is so important because what I see right now is the agents that are in ChatGPT using it to write their listing descriptions and write their emails. They go, oh, this is a good first draft. And then they copy and paste it somewhere, edit that, and then they use that as the final, which is fine. But why not take that, give it back to the AI tool and say, this is the final product that I used, compare the two and ask me questions about why I did it the way I did it. And so you have to train the tool just like you would a new employee. A new employee, if you said, do this, and they did it wrong, you wouldn't
just take it over.
You wouldn't just take it and be like, hey, good job, and then go do it again. Some people might, but that's not a good way to train your employee. You got to give it that feedback loop so that you start to get the context that you want, and then go from there. I mean, one of the most valuable things that I think we've talked about in this discussion so far is just ask it,
right?
And quit trying to prescribe the steps and tell it the process. Just ask it, can you do this for me? And it'll tell you. Or how do we make this better? Or I didn't like this. What else could we do? And it's a very intelligent employee, like you said, and it'll come back. So I think that's where I'd tell people to start is you've got to treat it like a real employee. Give it the context, give it the tools and access to the tools, give it the feedback so it produces what you want on a regular basis, and then start to explore some of these longer processes and automations that it can do for you, because it is incredible what it can do. Okay, as we wrap up here, I have a couple of final thoughts to close out with. One of the things that people need to pay attention to is that AI is moving so fast that everything we say could be irrelevant in a short amount of time. And people need to understand that. The AI models and the tools are moving at such a fast pace that it's important to stay on top of that and make sure that you're using relevant, up-to-date information. Ask your AI tool for that information and it'll give it to you. But from there, do you have any other final thoughts for people with AI? As they go from, hey, I'm a avid ChatGPT communicator to how do I begin to automate and buy time back?
I think step one is buy an agentic AI. Most of them start at $20 a month. In order that I would try, Claude Desktop, which will take, the learning curve is a little tougher, I think, on Claude Desktop. So you need to make sure you take our advice of just asking it what to do to get it set up. And then Manus would be my follow up. I think it is the most user friendly, simplest to get started, and it will take you from a chat to an agentic. And when you feel like you've maximized that tool, then you can go look at, one of the other ones. So I would do that just to get started and just start talking to it, start training it, think about how you want to use it as an employee and a member of your staff.
Awesome. If we missed something, which we probably did because AI, there is a ton of information, ton of details. Put it in the comments. We'll engage. If there's enough comments and people go, hey, what about this? Then we can always get back on here and do some things again. Maybe in the future, we could even pull up and do some live demonstrations and things so that people can gain some context. But the goal always of this channel is to uncomplicate your prospecting and your lead generation. AI is amazing at doing some of those things. But as Curtis mentioned, this is still a relationship business. Utilize the AI to automate the things in your business that you aren't required for, and trade those out for spending more time in the areas of your business where you're communicating face-to-face, belly-to-belly, toe-to-toe, like we talked about. That's the end goal that we should be shooting for as real estate professionals using AI in the business, is we should be using it to spend more time in front of people that leads to more transactions. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.